Good morning. Start your day informed and ahead. Today is Wednesday, 22nd of July. I'm Angela Lagunzad-Castro.
And I'm Cesca Litton-Kalaw. We are bringing you the perfect mix of the headlines you need and the conversations that shape your day.
From the news desk to the digital space, we have got you covered. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and welcome to Morning Matters.
First in the news, NBI Director Melvin Matibag says the alleged threat by Vice President Sara Duterte against President Marcos appeared planned and continuing. Matibag told the impeachment court the NBI has identified persons of interest who could lead investigators to the person Duterte claimed she spoke with about killing the president. He declined to name them, citing the ongoing investigation. Matibag also raised the possibility of coordination within the Duterte family, pointing to public remarks by the Vice President and Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte. The defense, however, questioned his reliance on unnotarized affidavit by self-confessed Davao Death Squad member Arturo Las Cañas. Matibag's personal knowledge of the alleged threats and the validity of the document he cited in his testimony were also questioned.
Without the proper notarization and without the proper signature, then it is a mere scrap of paper. We cannot allow this witness to build his testimony based on this document.
They're trying to prove something by showing a document that any law student will tell you na hindi acceptable yon. Wala akong problema na palabasin yon, pero do your job and present the proper witness and the proper documentation to do that.
All right, so Matibag explained on Tuesday or yesterday that the NBI probe has two parts, one of which is the investigation right after the 2024 or November 2024 press conference, so with the VP Sara and other members of the media and vloggers. And the other one naman, the second probe is yung pag-create ng special task force under the NBI Director Matibag, no? His administrative order number 11 last April naman. So that's why he was telling yesterday during the trial that he has no personal knowledge of the investigation. And there was yung mga quotable exchange na if you don't have personal knowledge, edi hearsay yan or chismis yan. That's why yun yung pinag-uusapan nila. So the defense, Vinluan later went straight to his point with sinasabi niya that witnesses can only testify if they have knowledge doon sa sinasabi nila. That is why sinasabi niya doon sa unang investigation, which is hindi pa siya yung NBI director, wag mo na yun isama sa testimonya mo because wala kang formal or direct knowledge, diba? That's why he cited yung rules of evidence yesterday. So, and then also, tulad ng ginawa din ng defense sa other witnesses, kinwestiyon nila yung credibility and of course yung alleged bias na sinasabi nila kay Attorney Matibag because yung asawa ni Director Melvin Matibag is a congressman which also backed the articles of impeachment in the House of Representatives. That's why sabi niya, oh, dun palang bias na. And they also presented yung article ni, opinion article ni Attorney Matibag na Bratenela si VP Sara. Yun yung sinasabi niya. So, we'll see what's going to happen because yun nga, sinabi rin ni Congressman Chel Jokno that kanina dun sa interview namin sa Good Morning Kapatid that he hopes, no, pagdating naman dun sa usapin ng financial records, sa tax records ni VP Sara, he hopes na magkaroon nga ng written request from the President para ma-open yung financial records na yun. Yeah.
And kaya humingi din ng continuance for today yung defense because of the Las Cañas. Well, affidavit/testimony, the defense doesn't want to acknowledge it as an affidavit nga daw because wala daw signature, there are notary requirements that aren't present because they also need to study nga daw the new materials presented. And yung another point that Director Matibag was talking about yesterday were the things na ginawa nilang basis for
their investigation.
for the investigation that they learned from the U.S. Secret Service.
Yeah.
Nga daw. So the pattern of violence, which is why they showed which is why they wanted to establish nga yung sa sheriff.
Oo, sa Davao noon,
court
when he
sheriff.
was
Court
still a
sheriff.
mayor. at the time.
And then the gravity of
Vice mayor, rather, sorry.
and then the identity, capacity, and the motive.
Even the statement that Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte in an assembly of the Rage Coalition was played, right? Where he said na isa lang
Yeah.
yung ulo na gusto nila and yun yung ulo ni President Bongbong Marcos, and that is to establish this pattern of violence among the Dutertes. But yesterday, we had a lot of expectations that the testimony
Fireworks!
of Director Matibag would have fireworks, magiging pasabog daw, di ba? But
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys. Kung nasindi ba yung paputok?
We were waiting for a Judas belt. I think we got Watusi.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a good analogy,
But
ah.
also because I think from the very start, Presiding Officer Chase Escudero already said whatever comments you have on individual members of the impeachment court, the senator judges.
Leave it.
Save it for when the Senate is a legislative
Yeah,
body.
which is fair to ask,
Yeah.
because it has nothing to do with the
With the-
impeachment
yes,
trial,
exactly.
diba? Oo. Pero yun nga, as to the reference sa may pasabog, so far naman parang more on corroborative testimony yung
yeah.
ginawa niya dun sa, from the statement of NBI
Lotto.
agent Lotok, diba?
Yeah.
If you can remember.
NBI agent Kalilong. So, NBI Director Melvin Matibag just corroborated that and established that this is what we're doing in our investigation. He even gave a timeline that they will finish this in 3 to 6 months. No, so if we're looking at the timeline of the impeachment trial, actually ongoing pa yung
Ongoing pa,
trial
oo.
when they finish this
Exactly.
investigation. So let's see if talagang ma-expose nila kung sino yung persons of interest who the Vice President allegedly contracted to kill President
Yan nga
Marcos.
Pero iniisip ko lang din how important or how significant nga magkaroon sila ng establishment na meron talagang kinontak, etc. Because, di ba, time and again, we would always banter here or discuss here na this is a impeachment case, it's not a criminal case, therefore, it is not really important to prove kung meron talaga siyang kinontak na assassin or papatay or hide killer. No? Siguro parang ano na lang siya, kumbaga, bonus na lang dun sa pinaka-ingredient nung case.
And that's the point also of the prosecution,
Yes,
right? They're emphasizing that this article of impeachment, they're highlighting the threats that the Vice President made.
Right.
And hindi siya sang-ayon sa posisyon ng VP as the second highest official of the land to make threats like that against the President. Pero one thing we also need to highlight is the new schedule of the impeachment trial starting next week.
Yeah.
So no trial on Monday and Tuesday, but Wednesday they will resume from 10 to 3 p.m. And then starting August 3, the trial will also move to the morning na. So please watch Morning
Di
Matters.
ba tayo ang taya doon.
Okay, but in other news, President Bongbong Marcos summoned Chinese Ambassador Qing Chuan at Malacanang on Tuesday to discuss the recent confrontation between the Chinese Coast Guard and Philippine Navy personnel at Ayungin Shoal. The Chinese ambassador described the talks as constructive and said both sides discussed ways to address the issue through dialogue. He maintained China's position that its Coast Guard did not provoke the incident. The Armed Forces of the Philippines rejected Beijing's claims, insisting the Chinese Coast Guard unlawfully entered waters where the Philippines exercises sovereign rights and acted aggressively against Filipino personnel. President Marcos earlier condemned the incident and reaffirmed the government's support for troops defending the country's rights in the West Philippine Sea. All right, so in the photos that the palace shared yesterday, the president was seen, of course, conversing with the Chinese ambassador, and also present there was ES Executive Secretary Ralph Recto. And it's important to note, this is the first time also that President Marcos summoned the Chinese ambassador, Qing Chuan, because he arrived in Manila just last
Since
December,
last year,
right, 2025. But as the Chinese ambassador mentioned, the dialogue was quite constructive. There wasn't really any pointing of fingers rumors, exchange of harsh words, or it wasn't even a diplomatic protest. So at least it was an in-depth exchange of views. And one thing he also highlighted is that despite the controversies, the issues that we have right with China, he says the two sides are actually meeting each other halfway after several rounds of negotiations. So negotiations are still on the table. But, you know, we were talking to Ray Powell last Monday, right? And he said he's actually pessimistic about a code of conduct between the Philippines and China. So we've yet to see if we will really be able to negotiate with China.
20 years na kasi yun yung code of conduct na yun.
But also, so the CCG and the AFP have two very different versions. So the CCG said that the Philippine Navy personnel were aboard rubber boats and they ignored repeated warnings surrounding and then surrounded and rammed the Chinese patrol boat daw before attacking Chinese law enforcement officers with yung oars and sticks. For the AFP, they said that the video was edited. So it did not, parang if you watch the video from the very beginning, you'll see that Chinese boats came into close proximity of the BRP Sierra Madre. And the boats though came to within 20 to 30 meters of BRP Sierra Madre, which is well within the EEZ, the Philippine EEZ.
So, well, so of course, we want to know what really happened, diba? And for context, sinasabi nga nila, the CCG vessel was actually anchored near BRP Sierra Madre, ang ating BRP Sierra Madre na nandun pa since 1999, diba? And they deployed nga daw itong RHIB, itong CCG vessel na to with their 8 personnel, and they went around the BRP Sierra Madre doing patrolling, you know, around that area. And then of course, yung sa BRP Sierra Madre naman, yung ating PCG, parang tinaboy din daw sila or sinabihan na wag sila doon or whatever. Doon na nagkaroon ng enkwentro sa kanila. Siyempre, tayo nilalaban natin we have the right to be there. Sila naman parang ayaw tayo doon, no? So, we'll see what's going to happen because sinasabi nga natin, ang diplomatic summons are not routine, but they are a formal way of conveying serious concerns. Now, the question here, even if they talk and talk, what else can we do? We have filed diplomatic protests, di ba? We have been talking, di ba? Pero what else can we do to be able to prevent, di ba, another incident like this? Kasi ang hirap nung usap tayo dito, but the people on the ground, sila yung nasasaktan, sila yung nadadamay. So, talagang importante talaga magkaroon ng resolution dito. Kung ano yon, we have yet to find out.
At huwag na natin antayin na yung mga fisher folk pa natin yung masaktan sa mga ganyang encounters.
Oh my gosh. All right. No plans to leave. The camp of former House Speaker Martin Romualdez has rejected ombudsman allegations of any secret departure plots. Attorney Elaine Atienza, spokesperson for Representative Martin Romualdez, insists the lawmaker is staying put to face the charges head-on. His defense team completely refutes claims from Assistant Ombudsman Miko Clavano that intel reveals ongoing attempts to sneak out of the country. The denial comes at a critical time as the Sandigan Bayan hold departure order remains active and the plunder complaint escalates to preliminary investigation.
We deny, in the strongest possible way, any insinuation that Representative Romualdez has attempted to evade the legal process. Uulitin po namin, kailanman ay hindi nagtago si Representative Romualdez. Siya po ay nasa bansa at mananatili sa bansa until such time that he will be able to clear his name.
So yesterday, the Office of the Ombudsman said that they are going to file plunder and money laundering charges against former Speaker Martin Romualdez. The thing is, with Romualdez's camp, they said that they haven't been given the opportunity to answer allegations against him. There is no criminal case filed yet, so the presumption of innocence still has to operate nga daw. And yun na nga, if he's been formally served a copy of the complaint, then they will answer in full.
Yeah, well, you have to remember he is recently tagged by the Office of the Ombudsman as the central figure of the flood control scam. And yun nga, if you want your opportunity, diba, to air your side, walang iwanan, walang aalis ang bansa. Excuse me. Diba, yun ang ating gusto, of course, ng mga kababayan natin, the public wants that. And we have to remember, saan kaya siya pupunta kung aalis siya? Because the US government has canceled his diplomatic and tourist and business visa nung April pa yata, if I'm not mistaken. So, saan kaya siya pupunta? If ever totoo yun, aalis siya.
Oo, kasi the ombudsman has said, the office of the ombudsman said that he has tried to leave multiple times, not just once. I remember we were discussing before that the former House Speaker sought a travel authority to
yung
go to
medical.
Singapore,
Oh, yeah,
for
yeah.
medical reasons.
That's right.
But we don't know.
There
And
were
now
no
is he
doctor's
trying?
orders yata.
Yeah.
So, hindi siya pinayagan.
But now is he trying to actually leave and seek political asylum elsewhere? Is he using the impeachment as a good distraction? Diba? While Filipinos are focused on this trial to leave. But we'll see. The ombudsman said nga they're just one step away from filing already these charges in the Sandigan Bayan. They're already in the preliminary investigation stage.
So, asan nga si Zaldico? Alright, don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after a short break.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The House prosecution disputed the defense's claim that parts of NBI Director Melvin Matibag's testimony were hearsay. Mobile journalist Amy Atienza now joins us live for the latest. Amy, ano pang naging assessment so far ng prosecution sa testimony ni Director Matibag?
Yes, Pauline, satisfied naman daw yung prosecution sa naging testimony nga at naging pahayag dito ng kanilang presentasyon kay NBI Director Melvin Matibag sa ikawalong araw nga ng impeachment trial ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Bukod pa dyan, sabi rin kahapon sa isang press conference matapos nga yung naging direct at cross-examination from both parties na para sa kanila ay buo na, kompleto na yung naging kwento dito ng investigasyon nga na isinagawa mismo ng National Bureau of Investigation pagdating doon sa video press conference ni Vice President Sara Duterte kung saan siya nga nagbanta umano kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, kay First Lady Liza Marcos, pati na rin kay former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. At doon nga sa naging testimonya pa ni Director Matibag, narinig niya rin na pahiwatig din na itong araw pagbabanta ni VP Sara ay hindi na lang pagbabanta kundi may plano din daw itong ang VP Sara na talagang i-assassinate ang Pangulo at yun daw yung nakita mismo doon nga sa naging testimonya ni Director Matibag.
Okay, Amy, today ay NBI Director Melvin Matibag will take the witness stand today. Ano naman ang pwede pa natin asahan?
Well, so far, Pauline, ang inaasahan natin ay magkakaroon pa nga ng redirect at recross examination for both the prosecution and the defense pagdating dito sa naging pahayag nga din ni Director Matibag. Kung kahapon kasi mapapakinggan natin na itong ang naging katanungan din ng defense pagdating sa witness ng prosecution na si Director Matibag ay medyo circulating din doon sa kanyang naging credibility. So, ang titingnan dito ay kung ano pa nga ba yung maaaring maisiwalat or maaaring maipresenta mismo ng prosekusyon pagdating pa rin doon sa naging investigasyon, lalong-lalo na doon sa Special Task Force nga na binuo ng NBI noong April 2026 right after din ma-file nga yung impeachment complaints. So titingnan pa kung ano pa yung magiging daloy ng investigasyon dito, lalo na dahil before din matapos mismo yung direct examination ng prosecution kay Director Matibag, nasabi na meron na nga daw leads. Ibig sabihin, meron na silang mga taong nakakausap kung sino nga ba yung na maaaring makapagtukoy, kung sino nga ba yung mismong kinausap ni Vice President Sara Duterte para nga daw i-assassinate ang Pangulo.
Amy, ano naman ang naging reaksyon ng prosecution doon sa claim ng defense na hearsay lamang ang testimonya ni NBI Director Matibag?
Para sa prosecution, Pauline, malinaw naman na hindi lang hearsay itong ang nagiging testimony ni Director Matibag dahil nga para sa kanila, itong investigasyon na ginagawa nga rin ng NBI ay ongoing pa raw kasi. So, makikita din kasi natin kahapon doon sa trial na nag-ugat din ito dahil nga doon sa unauthorized na paper ng investigation nitong si Director Matibag na talagang pinuna ng defense. Pero para sa prosecution, ito ay presentasyon ng kung ano nga ba yung mga investigasyon pa na ginagawa ng National Bureau of Investigation pagdating dito sa pagbabanta or maging sa plano na nga ng bise na i-assassinate ang Pangulo.
Okay, thank you very much for that report. That was mobile journalist Amy Atienza reporting. Now, in other news, former presidential chief legal counsel Salvador Panelo said the Senate impeachment court's decision to subpoena Vice President Sara Duterte's financial records could be challenged before the Supreme Court as a possible grave abuse of discretion. In an interview with The Big Story, Panelo said investigators must first present evidence of unexplained wealth before seeking bank records, warning that the subpoena could otherwise become a fishing expedition. Panelo also questioned the credibility of NBI Director Melvin Matibag, citing his previous columns against Duterte and his wife's endorsement of the impeachment complaint. He also defended Duterte's remarks against President Bongbong Marcos, saying they were conditional statements and should not be treated as proof of an alleged plot.
Why is it grave abuse of discretion when actually the secrecy of bank accounts makes an exception? Pagka may impeachment trial, pwede siyang buksan.
Ang problema doon kasi, yung subpoena mo, can you imagine the records will have to go beyond the time?
Because you have to establish nga
Hindi
yung
pa pwede yun.
baseline.
Alam mo kasi, unang-una, tama yung pinupunto nila doon sa, yung isa sa mga senador doon, na kailangan, yung increase lang ng income mo sa salin, hindi yung po pwedeng maging basis mo to sue for ill-gotten wealth na it will lead to a betrayal of the public trust. Kasi, wala kang ebidensya outside of that. Kailangan, meron kang ebidensya. Nagbigay ng example si Senator Alan, tama yun. I-modify lang natin. Halimbawa, ang salin mo ngayong taon na ito, meron kang 20 million. Pero 5 years ago, ikaw ay mga 5 million lang.
You mean pag lobo, hindi proof na ill-gotten or unexplained?
Hindi, unexplained lang yon. Pero it's not ill-gotten. Kaya kailangan, bago mo pabuksan yon, kailangan meron kang ebidensya. Bakit mo ilalagay sa testigo na wala namang personal knowledge doon sa mga investigasyon na ganap?
Because he wanted to talk about his investigation when he assumed.
Tingnan mo, lalong napasama nga. Kasi, nung tinanong siya about the previous investigation, wala siyang participation, wala siyang kaalam-alam. Paano ka mag-iimbestiga ng sarili mo kung hindi mo nalaman yung background? O doon lang makikita mo na, nakapokus lang sa siraan si Vice Presidente Inday Sara. Pangalawa, ilang columns ang binanatan niya si Inday, siniraan niya ng siniraan si Inday Sara. So, madali sabi, galit siya. Tapos, tingnan mo na. Yung asawa niya pa,
nag-sign ng
correct. So,
impeachment
dapat,
complaint.
alam mo, delikadesa, huwag ka na dapat doon kasi bias ka na eh.
Lieutenant General Antonio Navarrete is the new Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. The current Philippine Army commander will succeed General Romeo Browner Jr., who retires after completing his fixed 3-year term. Lieutenant General Donald Gumiran, the current Western Mindanao Command Chief, will replace Navarrete as Army Commanding General. Browner is the first AFP chief to complete a fixed 3-year term under the law.
I accept this responsibility with full awareness of the weight of the command and with an unwavering commitment to faithfully uphold the Constitution, protect the Filipino people, and defend the sovereignty and integrity of our republic.
And now for the latest on the weather, a trough of a low-pressure area is affecting the eastern sections of southern Luzon and the Visayas, according to Pag-asa. The Bicol region and eastern Visayas can expect cloudy skies with scattered rains and thunderstorms. Pag-asa warned that moderate to heavy rains may cause flash floods and landslides in some areas. Meanwhile, the southwest monsoon continues to bring cloudy skies with scattered rains and thunderstorms over Mindanao, Palawan, Western Visayas, the Negros Island region, and Central Visayas. Residents in affected areas are advised to stay alert as heavy monsoon rains could also trigger flash floods and landslides. As flood risks worsen with climate change and rapid urbanization, experts are pushing for a shift from reactive flood control to long-term basin-wide planning. Mobile journalist Denise Valdez Sancho has this report.
Government officials, engineers, urban planners, and international experts gathered in Makati City for the Stormwater Summit 2026 to discuss long-term solutions to flooding amid climate change, rapid urbanization, and growing pressure on the country's water infrastructure.
Too often, it receives the greatest attention only after disasters occur. Today's summit provides an opportunity to shift our focus towards preparedness, risk-informed planning, innovation, and long-term sustainability for our communities.
Presidential Advisor for Sustainable and Resilient Communities, Secretary Cristina Garcia Frasco said the country must shift from reacting to disasters toward investing in preparedness, risk-informed planning, and stronger coordination among government, the private sector, and local communities.
For many years, our main approach to flooding was simple. Remove the water as quickly as possible. Flooding is a basin-wide problem, and we cannot solve it by relying on pumps and drainage systems alone. Containment asks a different question. Not how fast can we flush it, but how much can we hold it and what it can do for us.
During the panel discussion, Kalima identified 3 key interventions the Philippines must prioritize over the next 5 years to reduce flooding: rehabilitating heavily silted waterways, developing more upstream flood control and water storage infrastructure, and strengthening proper waste management.
First, we have to cleanse our waterways, and then I think the third one and the most important one is proper waste management. Because even if we do all of this, if people keep throwing garbage in the rivers and our waterways, it's useless.
Looking ahead, officials said future flood mitigation efforts will focus on basin-wide planning, expanding upstream water storage and retention infrastructure, adopting science-based solutions, and strengthening coordination among national agencies, local governments, the private sector, and communities to build a more flood-resilient Philippines. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho. We are One News.
Now, don't go away because Money Talks with Kathy Yang is up next to get you ahead of the markets. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Stay tuned to One News.
Good morning mga kapatid. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. As we know, NBI Director Melvin Matibag took the witness stand on day 8 of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial. But his testimony delivered few fireworks despite earlier claims it would be explosive. Matibag said the NBI has identified persons of interest in its continuing probe into Duterte's alleged threats but declined to name them. The defense questioned his reliance on unsigned and unauthorized or notarized affidavit by Arturo Las Cañas, which Matibag admitted he had no personal knowledge of. Senator Judge Pia Cayetano also rebuked the prosecution, urging it to present the proper witness and documents to prove its case.
And joining us this morning is House Prosecution Advisor and former Congressman Robert Ace Barbers to weigh in amid questions over the weight of Director Matibag's testimony. Good morning, Congressman, and thank you for joining us here on Morning Matters.
Good morning.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning po sa ating mga kababayan.
Morning. All right, Congressman, expectations were really high ahead of Director Matibag's testimony yesterday. Sabi ng prosecution, there would be fireworks, but it seems a lot of people were disappointed. For you, Congressman, did the testimony of Director Matibag meet the prosecution's expectations?
Yes, I believe so. No? On the part of the prosecution panel, what we wanted to hear and get from the testimony of Director Matibag was the corroboration of the statements of the 2 previous witnesses. No? Nakita naman natin doon na sinabi nung dalawang naunang witness sa kanilang salaysay ay meron silang authentication ng video kung saan narinig natin yung pagbabanta. Pangalawa, yung sinasabing ongoing threat was serious as a result of the investigation made by the NBI. And itong testimony naman ni Director Matibag ay pinalakas lalo yung dalawang naunang testimonya. So I guess, and we confidently can say that this has strengthened the case of grave threats and inciting to sedition committed by the Vice President.
Well, former Congressman, what do you make of the defense's effort to question the credibility of Attorney NBI Director Melvin Matibag?
Well, we expected that from the defense panel because the first thing that the defense will do in a cross-examination is to destroy the credibility of the witness. No? Gagaya nung ginawa nila dun sa naunang dalawa. Pero kami naniniwala na after the cross-examination yesterday, initial pa naman yan dahil meron pa naman today, hindi pa rin natinag o nagiba o nasira yung credibility nung testimonya ni Director Matibag.
But for my follow-up question, former Congressman, they also established that si Attorney Melvin Matibag ay may bias na, even involving his wife, Congressman, who also backed out the impeachment case against the Vice President, and even presenting an opinion article made by the NBI Director.
Well, yung appointment kasi ni Director Matibag was made even I think it was after the impeachment complaint was signed and endorsed by his wife, and I believe that it is totally detached from his work as the NBI director. Yung kanyang pagkakapili bilang isang direktor sa NBI ay gawa ito nung kanyang credibility, kanyang credentials, kanyang experience in investigation, kaya siya ang napili diyan. But I really believe that it has a different reason why he was appointed there. Hindi naman dahil sa pumirma ng endorsement yung kanyang wife. Lawyer din yung kanyang wife at napag-aralan din niya yung issues at hand at bago niya ito pinirmahan, bago niya ito tiningnan, siguro nakapag-decide siya na ito i-endorse.
Former Congressman, one of the points of contention yesterday was the Las Cañas affidavit, or testimony as the defense prefers to call it. They said it's unsworn, it's unnotarized, the document contains hearsay. There was even a conversation about hearsay versus chismis. How does this document affect your case, and why is it so necessary?
Well, I think it's really necessary. Why? Because number one, any hearsay, chismis, or whatever it is, na any lead that can be derived from the threat, kasi may threat mayroong pagbabanta sa buhay ng ating Pangulo, and according to the NBI director, a threat to the President is a threat to the national security. So any leads that may happen after the threat was made can be considered as vital to the investigation. Remember, the NBI director kept on saying that meron pa rin ongoing yung aming investigation. So, lahat po ng naririnig, nakikita, nababasa, o nasasabi ng kahit sino man, whether persons of interest or hindi, basta ito'y magbibigay ng lead dun sa sinasabing threat to the national security, dapat i-consider. Now, I totally agree kung bakit na-question yung this is walang notary, walang hindi to considered as a evidence dito sa impeachment trial kasi si Las Cañas ay wala rito, hindi matanong, etc. etc. That's fine. Ang sinasabi lang naman doon na alam niya yung circumstances surrounding the performance of former the Vice President as former mayor and Vice Mayor of the city, where Las Cañas was ordered to do such acts that may be established as acts of violence. So yun ang tingin namin na nakadagdag doon sa sinabi ni Director Matibag. Kasi nga, ini-establish na yung threat ay galing sa kanila at ito'y isang plano, ito'y isang hindi lamang pagbabanta sa ating Pangulo, kundi pagbabanta sa ating seguridad sa ating bansa.
Well, yesterday, Congressman, Director Matibag also confirmed that there are persons of interest already in the NBI's investigation. But what is the value of that to the prosecution's argument? Because the prosecution has emphasized already previously that they don't need to prove that the Vice President contracted an assassin. They're focusing on the threats that she made herself. So ano pa po yung point ng pagsabi na may mga persons of interest nga po?
Well, remember, hindi lang naman yung impeachable offense ang iniimbestigahan dito, no? Gaya ng sinabi ni Director Matibag, importante rin na malaman natin kung sino ba yung assassin na yan, sino ba yung nakausap, nakontrata. Kasi nga, this is a continuing threat, no, to the national security because it is a continuing threat to the President of the Republic. So, mahalaga pa rin yan, no? Although, doon sa point of the Vice President committing an impeachable offense, mukhang doon sa report at investigation na ginawa ng NBI na sinabi nila merong grave threats na ginawa at merong inciting to sedition, and we believe in the prosecution panel that these are enough and sufficient grounds for establishing an impeachable offense committed by the Vice President. So anything more than that, yung kung ano pa yung madadagdag tungkol sa threat to the President and to the national security would be a valuable information for the NBI.
Well, on the issue of hearsay, the defense has reiterated that Matibag's testimony has no personal knowledge. No, he has no personal knowledge on the investigation, especially the first part of the investigation. Your thoughts on that po?
Well, now that he's the NBI director, he has to know what has been discussed and established by his predecessor. Kasi nga, continuing yung threat, continuing yung investigation, active yung threat. So kailangan niyang he has to put his best foot forward in this investigation, be on top of the investigation. Kaya nga hindi dahil wala siya doon, hindi dahil na hindi siya yung nag-umpisa ng investigation, kailangan wala siyang pagkaka-link doon, no? It is a continuing threat, an active one as they call it in the law enforcement agency. So therefore, being the head of this investigating body, he has to be knowledgeable, no, of all the findings, the leads, the information being shared by the agency. Kaya hindi pwedeng hearsay siya dito para sa akin.
The defense also flashed survey results with the Vice President's trust ratings at 57%. But can we talk about the relevance of trust ratings in a betrayal of public trust impeachment proceeding, the difference between the two, and why you think the defense showed this?
Well, maybe just to explain it I tried to explain it in the most laymanized, hindi naman ibig sabihin na if you're popular and you commit a crime, exempted ka na from the accountability, no? Hindi dapat ganon. The more popular you are as a public official, dapat nga mas mataas yung standards of being accountable to whatever violation you have committed. So I guess yung popularity based on the survey would probably work best for a popularity or beauty pageant, no? Pero in an issue of an impeachment trial or yung pananagutan, no, sa mga posibleng nalabag na mga batas is totally different and must not exempt anyone who is popular in being subjected to the accountability mechanism as provided in our Constitution.
Well, Congressman, when Senate President Sherwin Gatchalian asked Director Matibag about the timeline of the NBI's investigation, Attorney Matibag answered that their indicative timeline right now is 3 to 6 months. So let's say the NBI finishes their investigation by October. Does the prosecution still plan to use the NBI's findings, or are you sort of closing the chapter already on this article?
Quite honestly, I cannot think ahead of what the prosecution panel plans, no, in the future. But what I can say is that we will consider all possible legal actions that may happen after the impeachment trial. So ito naman ay pagtugon, no, doon sa probisyon ng ating saligang batas na dapat tinutupad o isang basihan o pagtupad doon sa alituntunin ng ating mga batas. So I guess we will probably cross the bridge when we get there.
Well, former Congressman, the possibility of the Vice President resigning is resurfacing. No? That issue is resurfacing. So, what can you tell us about it? I mean, what do you make of it? Kailangan pa po ba na kapag po siya ba ay nag-resign, kailangan ba i-continue or ituloy impeachment trial? Your thoughts on that?
Ako naman, I believe the Vice President has all the right, no, to decide on where and what she will do during this trial. No? Hindi naman ibig sabihin, kasi nag-uumpisa pa lang itong paglilitis. So dahil sa umpisa pa lang ito, marami pang pwedeng mangyari. No? Yun nga, one na possible that may happen is that the Vice President resigning. No? But this will not absolve her from any wrongdoing she has committed while she was Vice President. If this is established, if this is decided in the impeachment court. So the next chapter would probably be decided on when, as I say earlier, cross the bridge when we get there.
And of course, the prosecution also showed the video of Davao City Mayor Duterte saying isang ulo lang ang kailangan natin and referring to President Bongbong Marcos. He is not the one on trial right now for impeachment. How does this all tie into the impeachment proceedings against the Vice President?
Well, this supports the claim of the NBI, the whole NBI, that there is a continuing threat. Kasi hindi lang naman ito nanggaling sa isang tao, kundi nanggaling ito sa isa pang tao at isa pang tao na related sa ating Vice Presidente. Ito nga, kapatid niya. No? Kaya hindi pwedeng hindi pansinin, no, yung threat na yon, yung kung ano ba ibig sabihin nung isang ulo lang naman ang aming kailangan. So they can, a lot of people can interpret the meaning of that particular statement. So I guess yun ang nakadagdag ng bigat doon sa sinasabi ng NBI na meron talagang threat na dulot ng isang pagbabanta na nanggaling mismo sa ating pangalawang Pangulo.
Well, today, Congressman, NBI Director Melvin Matibag will be taking the witness stand again, and he is expected to be the final witness already of the prosecution for the article on grave threats. So would you say the prosecution has been able to make its case already, at least for this article, and are you ready to move on to the next article on confidential funds, and do you think that will be more contentious?
Well, first, we believe that today will be the last day of the strengthening of the case in the allegations stated in Article 4, yung grave threats. No? So far, sa tatlong witnesses na inilatag ng ating prosecution panel, ay hindi pa po nasisira ang credibility o nagigiba ang kanilang mga testimonya. No, ang ibig sabihin po ay napalakas pa, no, ng testimonya nitong tatlong witnesses na inilatag ang kaso laban sa pangalawang Pangulo dun sa kanyang sinasabing grave threats na kanyang inisyo under Article 4 of the Articles of Impeachment. Now, the second, yes, we are ready after this. We are ready to proceed, no, dun sa Article 2, no? At ito naman ay pinaghandaan ding mabuti ng prosecution panel at medyo maganda at magiging exciting din itong discussion dito sa Article 2.
Well, on the issue of financial records of the Vice President, first, are you happy that the impeachment court has granted the subpoenaing of the financial records? Although hindi po full, hindi po kasama yung ibang mga companies like Pikimon. But my second question would be, are you also hopeful that along the way, when BIR asked for the written request of the President, it will be granted by the President? Kasi at first po, talagang sinabi na ng Malacanang or ng Palasyo na they don't want to make pakialam. Ayaw nilang makialam dito sa issue ng impeachment.
Well, unang-una, kami ay happy na nag-decide ang impeachment court na payagan yung pagsasampina ng mga mahalagang dokumento bilang ebidensya na ilalatag ng ating prosecution. Because we believe that if these documents, this evidence will be shown to the senator judges, they will be able to come up with a very convincing opinion on the issue. Number one. Number two, hindi naman pa sa ngayon kailangan ng approval ng ating ehekutibo o ng ating Pangulo yung pagbibigay ng authority para ilabas ito ng BIR. Because with the powers extended to the impeachment court, they can exhaust all these powers if they believe that this document, this BIR box, is a relevant and material evidence in the trial. Then by the power extended by the Constitution to the impeachment court, they can already summon or subpoena these documents and make it public. Kasi yun nga ang aming prayer, na lahat po ito ay hindi ito gawa-gawa o haka-haka lamang. Lahat po ng aming ebidensyang hinihingi na isabpina ay dulot ito ng investigation na ginawa sa Committee on Justice. At ito ay may mga legal na mga basihan, kung kaya't kami naniniwala na kapag ito'y nakita ng ating senator judges, it will now strengthen the case against the respondent. And in this case, ito yung issue about the confidential funds.
Looking ahead, Congress resumes session next week, and I just wanted to ask, how do you think this will affect the pace of the trial, considering that the senator judges and the House member prosecutors, their primary function is still to address urgent legislation? Yeah.
Well, as we can see, while the trial is ongoing, nung panahon pa lang na mayroong Committee on Justice hearings o clarificatory hearings, tuloy-tuloy naman yung paggagawa ng mga batas at pag-approve ng mga batas on second and third and final reading in the House of Representatives. Ganun din naman sa Senado. So ibig sabihin ay hindi naman po naantala yung paggagawa ng mga proposed legislation sponsored, authored by the members of Congress, dahil naniniwala sila na priority rin ito, at pero isang parte ng kanilang trabaho ay priority rin, which is the impeachment trial. Kayang-kaya naman po, nakita naman natin na marami pong naipasa, at naging batas, while the issue of impeachment is at hand and being discussed. There were legislations that were approved by both houses, and some of them even became a law. So sa akin palagay, maantala man ito o madelay man ito, pero konting panahon lamang, dahil kapag nakapag-adjust na, tuloy-tuloy na po ito after the State of the Nation address on Monday.
Well, Congressman, Vice President Sara Duterte is reportedly out of the country for an overseas trip until the end of the month, July 31. What do you have to say to that? And is the prosecution still hopeful that she will personally attend her impeachment trial?
Well, yes, I believe she should personally attend, because this is equally important as that of her job in the Office of the Vice President. Kasi nga, ikaw ang nasasakdal dito, ikaw ang respondent, so mas magandang ang mga sagot ay galing sa'yo. No? Pero kung hindi man, because the Constitution and the rules of impeachment does not prohibit, no, the respondent being represented by her lawyers or her defense team, able at qualified naman yung mga nagdedepensa sa kanya, no? At nakita naman natin yan sa palitan ng argumento ng bawat kampo. Again, it would perhaps help her if she will be attending and answering directly questions that will be propounded by maybe the senator judges.
All right, and with that, thank you so much for sharing your time with us this morning. That was House Prosecution Advisor and former Congressman Robert Ace Barbers. Thank you, Kong.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank
Maraming
you.
salamat.
Now, don't go away because we still have more matters to discuss after this quick break. Keep it here on One News.
Good morning. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News.
National Bureau of Investigation Director Melvin Matibag is set to return to the impeachment court today to continue his testimony. And for more details, let's bring in our mobile journalist, Marimon Reyes. Marimon, what can we expect from today's trial?
Pauline, today would be a continuation of the cross-examination plus the recross and redirect examination from both the prosecution panel and the defense panel to NBI Director Melvin Matibag. Nag-request kasi kahapon ang defense, given yung mga pieces of evidence, documentary evidence na pinresent ng prosecution, they asked for more time to examine it, at the same time have the opportunity to continue their cross-examination dito kay Director Matibag. That also includes yung possible throwing of questions naman ng senator judges na posibleng mamaya natin makikita. Withdraw din ng impeachment court yung pinapasabpina muna pagdating dito sa next article of impeachment. So, more likely, ang makikita natin si Director Matibag unless maaga sila matatapos or aabutin pa rin ng gabi. Pauline.
Okay, Marimon, for those who weren't able to tune in to yesterday's proceedings, ano ba yung naging highlights ng Day 8 of the impeachment trial?
Pauline, ang nasabi kasi sa testimony ni Director Matibag, doon sa binuo din nila ang Special Task Force, nakikita nila na continuing, actual, and serious itong threats na binitiwan ni VP Sara Duterte against President Bongbong Marcos, First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. In fact, hindi na daw nila ito tinitake as simple or just threats, kundi a confessed possible plan to assassinate the first couple and the former House Speaker. May tinignan dito na pattern of violence, yung motive, yung sinasabing kinetic force na yung statements ng Vice plus yung statements ng kapatid niya na si Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte, nahihimok daw nito, nakakapag-udyok daw ito ng ligalig, ng chaos, especially yung mga pamilya nagbibitiw ng mga salita, they are coming from the same family. So binalikan nila yung 2024 na press briefing ni VP, tapos yung mga sumunod na statements ni VP, plus yung naging statements ni Mayor Baste. So tinitingnan nila dito, baka daw may collusion ba, may pattern ba, meron bang conspiracy na nangyayari dito. Yun nga lang, yung ilan sa mga pinresent din nilang mga dokumento, kine-question ng defense. For example, pagdating dito sa pattern of violence, may pinresent sila na part ng affidavit ni DDS self-confessed hitman Arturo Las Cañas na sinasabing part daw, allegedly, ng architects ng Opla Tokhang itong si VP Sara. Pero ang tinatanong dito ng defense, wala raw siyang wet signature, hindi raw siya notarized. So it's just a simple or mere piece of paper. So, pinayagan naman ng impeachment court na gamitin ito, pero hindi para kay Matibag na sabing totoo yung allegations, kundi part daw ng nireview ng NBI itong supposed affidavit ni Las Cañas. Pauline.
All right, thank you very much for that report. That was mobile journalist Marimon Reyes.
Vice President Sara Duterte's defense team says it met its targets in the first part of its cross-examination of NBI Director Melvin Matibag. For the latest from the defense side, we now go live to mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. Arles, go ahead.
Yes, Pauline, ayon nga kay Atty. Michael Powa, spokesperson ng defense team ni Vice President Sara Duterte, ay nahit umano nila ang kanilang mga targets sa pagharap nga ni NBI Director Melvin Matibag sa ika-8 araw ng impeachment trial kahapon, kung saan naging sentro ng kanilang mga pagtatanong ang kredibilidad nga umano ni Matibag, kagaya na lamang ng kaalaman nito doon sa umano'y pagpapasabina sa mga mamamahayag na inimbitahan ng NBI matapos nga ang kontrobersyal na online press conference ni VP Sara noong November 2023 no, na kung saan nga ayon kay Matibag wala siyang direktang knowledge sa pag-imbita sa mga ito no, pero kinukumpirma niya ito base na rin sa mga papeles na kanyang nakalap at doon sa mga records ng National Bureau of Investigation mismo no. Gayon din yung kanyang pag-assume nga ng office noong February 2026 lamang. Kabukod dyan, Pauline, syempre nandoon din no, sa target ng depensa ang pagtatanong at pagsubok sa bias umano ni Matibag no, kasi si Attorney Melvin Matibag no ay may mga nakita tayo kahapon na mga article niya umano, mga opinion sa isang dyaryo na kung saan nga nandoon yung pagtawag kay VP Sara na isa umanong bratinela, pero ayon kay Matibag base lamang ito sa mga binabanggit noon ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte noong sila ay magkakasama. At kabukod dyan, yung asawa nga ni Attorney Melvin Matibag na si Congresswoman Ann Matibag ay isang kongresista at nag-endorso umano ng article of impeachment, pero ayon kay Matibag, ang kanyang katungkulan bilang NBI Director ay kaiba doon sa kanyang pagtayo at pagkaka-appoint sa kanya bilang NBI Director. Pauline.
Arles, si Angela ito, no?
Angela.
Okay, so while we understand that the defense team through its spokesperson, Attorney Michael Powa, has said that they will comply and abide doon sa ruling na ginawa ng impeachment court regarding the financial records of Vice President Sara Duterte, but they are still studying all legal options available, no? So at this point in time, Arles, meron na ba silang nabanggit na maaari nilang gawin, iniisip? Are they going to appeal to that decision?
Sa ngayon Puli, Angela, ay bukas pa din no, doon nga sa posibilidad ng lahat ng option legal remedies ang kampo ni Vice President Sara Duterte sa pag-apela doon sa pagsabina sa kanyang bank at tax records maging yung kanyang AMLA records. No? Dahil Angela, ayon kay Attorney Powa, nung kinausap nila si Vice President Sara Duterte ay ipinagkatiwala na raw nito sa kanyang Counsel for Defense Counsel ang kanilang magiging susunod na hakbang. Pero yung direktang kumpirmasyon kung maghahain sila sa Supreme Court nito no hindi pa nila yan kumpirmado kasi Angela, July 30 yung inaasahan na pagsabina at pagdadala ng mga dokumento na ito no, and meron na lamang 2 weeks ang defense team para humingi ng TRO sa Korte Suprema. Though kung magpa-file man sila doon, sigurado ang hihiling ay yung very urgent motion no for a temporary restraining order or kung ano pa man no, nakadepende yan syempre sa kampo ni Vice President Sara Duterte. At kabukod dyan syempre yung motion for reconsideration kasi ay wala raw sa rules ayon kay Attorney Michael Powa. So sa kabila niyan handa naman daw sila na harapin itong mga dokumento at papeles at makailang ulit na iginiit na wala silang kinatatakot sa mga ihaharap na umano'y dokumento sa impeachment trial ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Angela.
Alright, thank you so much, mobile journalist Arles de los Santos.
Senator Rodante Marcoleta is set to be arraigned today over an alleged violation of the law banning government officials from receiving gifts. For the latest from the Sandigan Bayan, we now go live to mobile journalist Jazz Paredes. Jazz, go ahead.
Yes, Cesca, nakatakdang ang i-arraign itong si Senador Rodante Marcoleta at kanyang kapwa-akusado na si Joseph Espiritu para sa paglabag sa Presidential Decree number 46 dito nga sa Sandigan Bayan. At kaninang umaga nga ay humarap itong dalawang sila Senador Marcoleta at si Joseph Espiritu sa Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division para sa kanilang arraignment at pre-trial. At sa pagsisimula kanina ng kanilang arraignment ay agad na naghain o nag-file ng motion o nag-request ang kampo ni Senador Rodante Marcoleta na kanilang i-withdraw yung nauna niyang motion to quash for his sa kasong plunder. Kung matatandaan natin, Cesca, no, noong una ay hindi makapaghain ng not guilty plea nga itong si Senador Rodante Marcoleta dahil nakabinbin pa o kailangan munang i-resolve yung kanyang motion to quash para sa kasong plunder. At ngayong umaga nga ay dahil nga na-withdraw na yan ng kanyang kampo, ay nakapaghain na rin ng not guilty plea si Senador Rodante Marcoleta both for violation of PD number 46 at yung kanyang kasong plunder, kasabay din niya ng paghahain ng not guilty plea ng kanyang kapwa-akusado na si Joseph Espiritu for violation of a Presidential Decree number 46. At anong nakapanayam natin yung kanyang kampo, kinausap natin kung bakit sila nag-lead sa desisyon na ito na i-withdraw yung kanilang naunang motion to quash. Ito daw ay kanilang napag-usapan with Senador Rodante Marcoleta para daw gumulong na yung pagdinig para sa kanyang kaso at ma-expedite daw yung proseso. At kanina nung sa pagharap ni Senador Rodante Marcoleta sa Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division ay tinanong siya ng mga mahistrado kung ito ba ay in consolidation with him, is this voluntary, at ito ba ay kanyang inaalaw, at ito nga ay kinumpirma ni Senator Rodante Marcoleta, kaya naman pinagbigyan o pinayagan ng mga mahistrado itong kanyang motion to withdraw his motion to quash. Sa ngayon, Cesca, ay ito pa lamang yung ating mga progress sa kanilang arraignment kanina, ngunit inaasahan natin na mamayang hapon naman ay dadating si dating Congressman Mike Defensor para naman sa kanyang arraignment for the violation of PD 46, Cesca.
Jazz, yung hinaharap na kaso ni Senator Marcoleta, yung plunder and 3 counts of violation. Today, you're at the 3rd Division of the Sandigan Bayan. Yung other 2 counts kasi, it's under the 1st and the 4th Divisions. Meron ka namang updates sa mangyayari doon?
Sa ngayon, Cesca, inaabangan pa natin yung magiging schedule para sa kaniyang arraignment naman para dun sa 2 pang counts. Dahil ang pagkakalam natin, Cesca, ang mahawak nga ay yung isa dito ay sa 3rd Division. Kanina ay sabi ng rehistrado ay nag-anunsyo sila nung pagdinig para doon sa kasunod na PD 46 for the isang count ito ng PD 46. Sabi nila kanina ay magkakaroon ng marking of evidences sa July 28 hanggang July 30, habang nakatakda naman yung kanyang pre-trial para sa kasong plunder at paglabag sa PD 46 sa August 10 or 8:30 ng umaga. Sa ngayon, Cesca, naabangan pa natin yung mga susunod updates para dun sa 2 pang count ng presidential decree. Ngunit sa ngayon, ito pa lamang yung nakukuha nating impormasyon kaugnay ng kanyang pre-trial and arraignment. Cesca.
Alright, thank you, mobile journalist Jazz Paredes.
Stay tuned. Morning Matters returns after a quick break.
Good morning, I'm Cesca Litton-Kalaw. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. As we know, NBI Director Melvin Matibag told the Senate Impeachment Court that Vice President Sara Duterte's alleged threat against President Bongbong Marcos appeared to be planned and ongoing based on the agency's investigation. Matibag said the NBI has identified persons of interest who may lead investigators to the individual Duterte claimed she had spoken to about killing the president. He declined to identify them, citing the ongoing investigation. Matibag also raised the possibility of coordination within the Duterte family, pointing to public statements made by the Vice President and Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte. Matibag is set to return to the impeachment court today to continue his testimony.
Now, for insights on the latest developments in the impeachment proceedings, we're joined by University of the East Political Science Professor Eric De Torres. Good morning, Prof, and thank you for joining us again.
Good morning, and thank you for having me in your program.
All right, so given what happened yesterday, what is your assessment of the Melvin Matibag's testimony, or the NBI Director Melvin Matibag's testimony? Ibigay ba yung pasabog na kiniklaim ng prosecution?
Well, siguro yung inaasahan na pasabog was basically the quote-unquote manner by which the Duterte family was, according to them, planned or trying to, or planning at least, and because of the ongoing and open investigation, as according to Director Matibag, the manner by which it was actually, it seems that there's really a plan on the part of the Duterte family because of the pronouncement of Mayor Baste Duterte, and from the previous statement of the press conference of VP Sara. But on the other hand, when we look at it as such, when he was basically being cross-examined, also I think that the defense was able to prove basically a point, since that according to the defense and the manner by which the defense argues is that is it something that is already conclusive, considering that this is an open and ongoing investigation? So I think the defense has a good point regarding this matter. And secondly, it's the defense raised that wife of Congressman Matibag, the wife of NBI Director Melvin Matibag, was one who basically also signed the impeachment, trial or impeachment case with regard to VP Sara. So it's really about also the manner by which the defense has successfully or able to, debunk and tested the credibility of the NBI director.
Well, yesterday, Professor, NBI Director Melvin Matibag said that based on their investigation, they are 100% sure that the Vice President actually spoke to someone to kill the first couple and the former House Speaker. He even said they have leads already and established persons of interest. But Professor, how significant is this to the case of the prosecution? Is that really relevant and material to what they are arguing in this impeachment court?
Well, if you're going to ask me, it's going to be a game changer if they will actually be able to produce the person. But also, if you're going to ask me as well, in my point of view, the fact that they were able to authenticate the video, I think that says it all. Because if you're going to notice, there's also a problem in terms of how the defense able to challenge the credibility of Director Matibag. So again, also they are also pointing out the personal knowledge of Director Matibag regarding this matter. But of course, he then argued that there's an ongoing. He created a special investigation committee to look at it as such, and it will take, and according to him, it will take at least 3 to 6 months for them to be able to give conclusion or provide recommendation as such, because it is an ongoing and open investigation. So by the time that 3 to 6 months, again, new issues will surface and so on and so forth. So I think strategy-wise, if the prosecution has stopped in terms of the verification of the authenticity of the video, then they could have moved on to another articles. And for me, the best is the unexplained wealth, since of course by matter of framing and the matter by which how you intend to look at the flood control issues and so on and so forth, this is a formidable case that is worth the manner by which the people will be able to look at transparency, accountability as such, because of the ongoing, flood control program or scandal.
Professor, as expected yesterday, the defense focused on discrediting Director Matibag, whether it's his lack of direct knowledge, whether it's possible bias because of his wife, or the opinion articles that he wrote calling the Vice President a bratinela, and also the technicalities involving the Las Cañas affidavit. Do you feel that the defense was successful in proving their point?
Yes, I definitely think that the defense was able to prove their point in terms of the personal knowledge, in terms also of his credibility, in terms of how he was also appointed before as form part of the previous administration. His wife basically was one of those who signed the articles of impeachment. So the defense tried to basically establish there's really conflict of interest in terms of him acting upon. But although, of course, on the other hand, and Director Matibag made also mention and testify that it's part of the job, but how do you make distinction as such? So I think that the defense was able to successfully establish or cast doubt with regard to his credibility as the NBI director.
Well, Prof, you're one of the people who reiterates the importance of VP Sara to appear before her impeachment trial. Why do you think that is important? Well, nakikita naman po natin na si VP Sara herself is not interested in appearing before her own trial, and that according to rules, di naman din siya required to appear.
Yes, according to rules, she's not required to appear. I think that really as a presidential, and this is just me and as an observer,
Right.
as a presidential and declaring that she's going to run for the 2028 presidential elections, I think it's also a good gesture, if you may, if there's really nothing to hide. It will tell the kind of, shows the kind of leadership, the kind basically of character that we are expecting for a presidential candidate. Well, of course, siya lang naman yung unang nagdeklara na siya yung tatakbo. So this is, I think, a test case also on how people would be able to view really her leadership and character and the kind of candidate and presidential candidate that she is, considering that she openly declared to run for the 2028 presidential election. So, mahalaga na makita ng taong bayan yung una, sincerity, at saka yung karakter niya bilang posibleng kandidato sa pagka-presidente sa susunod na eleksyon.
Well, when we talk about this impeachment trial, Professor, there are actually two courts, right? The impeachment court and the court of public opinion. Now, it's been 3 weeks already of this impeachment trial. How would you read the public's opinion on this? Because in the earlier days, a lot of analysts and people were saying it was too technical, over-judicialized, over-proceduralized. Pero ano po ang nababasa nyo ngayon sa pulso ng publiko?
Well, they're losing up. I think Senator Escudero has done a good job setting the tone. Especially yesterday, it's a notable observation that he raised a point that before Director Matibag take oath. He made mention about not to declare or prohibit the director from any kind of remarks with regard to the issues with regard to senator judges. But more importantly, I think it's that that both sides are trying to hey, this is not just a courtroom, but rather it's an impeachment trial that the public is the first key consideration in all of this. So bagamat talagang hindi mo na maiiwasan yung maging technical, unti-unting nagka-calibrate at saka nag-a-adjust yung both sides. More importantly, I think, and we would like to reiterate upon, is how the information age, especially the advent of social media and various social media platforms, is actually a game changer in terms of looking at it as such. Why? Because before, if you notice during the corona and the era of impeachment, we rely heavily on the traditional media in terms of how they pick up, how they will be able to discuss upon the said issues. But right now, you can be scrutinized online. You can be scrutinized real time. So if you also notice that the senator judges are very cautious, they are very calibrated in terms of asking questions, because every time or every now and then they can be subject to scrutiny, and for all they know, may meme na kaagad sila, and so on and so forth. So I think the social media is a game changer in terms of really providing information, plus the rise basically of the influencers who become an alternative source of opinion and so on, basically, and so forth.
Prof, there are moments when the trial feels more like a criminal proceeding rather than an impeachment trial. How do you think all parties involved should shift the focus, or what do they need to do to shift the focus back to impeachment proceedings for the public to understand?
Well, two things. I think they should be less technical, and more importantly, I think they're siguro na-frame na sila bilang mga abogado and sanay sa litigation, is the use basically of the language. So mahalaga din na as much as possible gumamit tayo ng lengguwaheng naababatay and nakatuon sa ating mga kababayan na paggamit ng salitang Tagalog o ng Pilipino, para mas maunawaan ng ating mga kababayan. Kasi unang-una ang principle dito is hindi siya korte na ang kausap mo yung judge lamang, pero ang pinapaunawa natin dito sa taong bayan natin na yung ikalawang vice presidente ay nasasaktan dito sa usaping ito. Kaya mahalagang mensahe natin sa ating mga kababayan, yung lengguwahe na mas naiintindihan nila.
Well, coming off from what you are saying, Prof, how would you assess both camps, the prosecution and the defense team or panel, on how they were conducting their investigation or the trial itself? Because it seems that if you are trying to look at it on a bigger perspective, ang defense po ay gumagamit na ngayon ng mga visual aids. They're trying to communicate not just to the senator judges but also to the public. Ano pa yung kailangan gawin ng prosecution, or what else can they do nga para ma-engage, hindi mag-tune out yung public?
So maganda din, we appreciate na every now and then nagkakaroon sila ng press conference. More importantly din siguro is yun nga, more visual para yung appreciation. So we also would like to commend the defense kasi mas visual na yung approach, kasi talagang kung titignan natin technical at hindi ito maiiwasan. And we will be expecting, lalo na yung articles 1 to 3, na magiging technical yan because it pertains basically to the bank records. Talagang hindi mo yan maiiwasan. Now, ang tanong, paano yung framing ng both sides beyond na kapag kakausap mo at humarap sila sa publiko tuwing press conference, na mas ma-appreciate ito ng ating taong bayan. Pangalawa pa, yung pag-cut down siguro din ng mga witnesses. Kasi kung susumahin natin, aabot ng 100 plus and aabot ng 1 taon. And by that time, ang focus na is election. It's already election fever. Election time na yan. So, yung interest makikita natin talagang bababa. Ikalawa that we would like to raise the point is that we also have to commend the court by adjusting the schedule from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. or to 3 p.m. We also need to focus on the budget. We have to also be critical about the budget, considering that yan, para maiwasan na naman natin yung mga insertions, quote unquote, yung mga unprogrammed appropriation. So hindi lang usapin ito ng impeachment, pero yung other legislative work na kinakailangan ng ating mga mambabatas ay dapat talaga natin ding tutukan at bantayan.
Actually, maganda rin yung ginagawa po, Professor, ni Impeachment Court spokesperson Reggie Tongol. Ina-explain po niya kung ano yung highlights of the day. Pati na rin ng prosecution, actually yesterday sa press ko nila, they started by giving the highlights of what happened para mas maintindihan po ng publiko. But Professor, I also wanted to get your thoughts on how the senator judges have been conducting themselves in this trial, the way they've been asking questions to the witnesses, because of course merong criticism na some of them are lawyering for a particular side at parang nagiging antagonists pa in this impeachment trial.
Well, two things. First, if you notice, they're very cautious. Some of them are very cautious. Some of them are really, makikita natin in terms of and I share some observations of some of the viewers or some of the people that parang inaabogado. And we would like to also, try to appeal that though this might be very technical and, they try to be objective as such, but I think the approach and the manner by which how they give their arguments are very important because they have to maintain two things, objectivity and partiality. Otherwise, kapag nakita ng taong bayan na may pagkiling o parang may paglinya, ano man yung maging desisyon dyan, maaapektuhan yung perception ng taong bayan na to begin with or the outset, parang ang dating o ang perception parang, ano ba talaga to? Baka may mga kuro-kuro o haka-haka na kahit na anong kalabasan yan, may desisyon na. So yun yung iniiwasan natin magkaroon ng ganong pagtingin yung ating mga kababayan na talagang magbase sila based on the merits, based on the facts, and based on the evidences basically presented by each, and they should be able to weigh it in the interest of the Filipino people.
Prof, picking up off of Paui's question, in the first couple of weeks, we saw the senators standing up and interjecting whenever they felt like it. And then just yesterday, Presiding Officer Chiz said to reserve their questions until the end of cross-examination or redirect. How do you think this affected the flow and the pace of the impeachment trial?
So very notable observation. Medyo mas gumaganda na yung facing ngayon. Siguro nag-a-adjust din and naka-adjust na rin din si Senator Cheese. And we have to give credit to him for being able to handle in setting the tone, especially yung ibang mga unnecessary ideas na parang hindi pa nakakatapos yung defense or prosecution, nandiyan na kaagad yung objection. So di rin natin masisi because you can feel the tension. The only moment that the tension is being diffused is when Kong Shell Jokno and Attorney Michael Powa is basically in the speaking. So you can feel yung very calm, very gentleman-like type-like approach. But all other else, talagang feel mo basically yung tension.
Well, lastly, Professor, there are only 6 senators who expressed their dissent doon sa ruling ng impeachment court, particularly doon sa financial records of VP Sara Duterte. The 2 that we were expecting, Senator Mark Villar and Senator Bongo, didn't issue any statement regarding that. So, what is your reading on that? How do you want us, the public, to read on that action?
Well, I think as expected, they will really subpoena and really scrutinize the bank records because there's already a precedence during the Corona impeachment trial. Secondly, if you notice, it's going to be very difficult to again divide the House. Should they divide the House and put it into voting? Definitely, ang mananaig is the majority. So kung titignan natin, very, very prudent and very legal and may basis talaga. Kung titignan natin naging decision ni presiding officer, ang dami niyang sinight so as to justify. But of course, looking at it as such, may point din naman yung defense na kung saan una, tama ba na yung bank records isama prior yung pagiging vice president niya na mayor pa siya ng Davao. Ikalawa, yung importanting point is yung bank records nilang mag-asawa, considering na yung asawa niya private citizen. Pero sa kabilang banda, na yung argument naman ni Kong Shell Jokno, yun nga, to establish basically the pattern. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng sabihin na lahat ng ito makikita mo nung naging vice president na siya. Ikalawa, given this mag-asawa sila, conjugal yan, nararapat lamang na mabusisi o matingnan din. So both parties, they do have a point. So again, sabi naman ni Attorney Michael Powa, nakadepende na dun sa legal strategy ng defense. But I think in anticipation, the defense also is anticipating also, or they already have a foresight na kung pabuksan in any eventuality, they are ready. Plus, kung wala naman talagang tinatago, and the point is, talagang pabuksan siya, or scrutinize yung dapat scrutinize, and they could defend it as well.
All right. Well, as always, thank you so much for sharing your time and your insights with us. That was University of the East Political Science Professor Eric De Torres. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. I'm Angela Lagunzad-Castro.
We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. I'm Cesca Litton-Kalaw.
Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Kapatid, we're one you.
All sides,
all the time.